Hi guys, I'm recording this in study hall, so sorry if there's background noise, but I just realized the video I was going to use doesn't work. So we are talking about rational expressions in 11.1. So I'm going to tell you what it is first. It is a fraction in which the numerator and or denominator are polynomials. Remember, a polynomial just means you have multiple terms. There's often like a x squared or a y squared or a exponent involved. Not always, but multiple terms, okay? Okay, so here's the process. You are going to factor anything that you can factor. Then you're going to use some of your exponent rules to simplify. And then you're going to eliminate some things. You're going to start slashing, and I'll tell you about slashing eventually. And then whatever you're left with is what you're left with. So that's just kind of like the steps you can follow. I will kind of jump around those steps at different times depending on what feels easier to me. And if you disagree with me, you can switch up your order as long as you're not breaking any math rules. So look at number 1 here. Okay, we're going to break this into numbers and variables first of all. So if we're just looking at numbers, here's one of those situations. Remember I told you you can put this in your calculator. You can type in 12 divided by 48. And if you do that, you should get on your screen the number 0.25. Okay, and then you're going to go second and PRB because that does the fraction to decimal thing. And that will turn it back into 1/4. Okay, so you are welcome to do that, or you're welcome to just reduce on your own. These are both divisible by 12, so if I divide both by 12, I end up with a 1 on top and a 4 on bottom. Then we're going to look at the variables. And if you look at what you have here in terms of variables, okay, so that's this part, the y over y to the third. If you recall, we did this with exponents earlier. This is essentially y to the first and then y to the third. So you're subtracting them. You can think of it as y to the 1 minus 3, which would be y to the negative second. And then remember that negative flips it down. So it becomes 1 over y squared. You are welcome to do that every time. That's not the way I think through it. I look at where is my bigger number, my bigger exponent. So there's a 3 and there's a 1. The bigger one is on bottom, so that's going to leave me with a y on bottom. And then I just subtract. 3 minus 1 is 2. So this is your simplified answer. Okay. Let's go to number 3. Okay, again, you can reduce these multiple ways. You can say 8 over 24, both are divisible by 8, so that's 1 and 3. Or you can do the 8 divided by 24 in your calculator, take that decimal, hit second, and then the PRB button, and that will turn it into 1/3 for you. So if you want to do it that way, that's great. If you want to do the division to get there, that's great too. Okay, so we have a 1 over 3. Now look at your m's. You can only combine if you have the same base. So these are a base of m. So m to the second and m to the first. If we subtract those, my bigger number is on top. So my m is going to be on top. 2 minus 1 is 1. You can put the 1 in. You don't have to put the 1 in. That's up to you. Then look at your n's. Okay, this is like n to the first and n to the third. So the bigger number of n's is on bottom, so we're going to have n on bottom, and then 3 minus 1 is 2, and that is your final answer. Okay, and we're going to go over this again tomorrow, so If this is not clicking for you, great today. Give it your best shot. We'll go over it again tomorrow. Different problems, but same idea. Let's jump to 7. Okay, so you should notice a difference between the first two that we did and number 7. There's addition happening here. So now there are multiple terms involved. So what you want to look for is, can you factor anything? N plus 6, we can't do anything to that. But if you look at your denominator, you can factor out a number. I'll let you think a minute about what that number would be. So n plus 6 isn't going to change. On bottom, 3n and 18 are both divisible by 3. So you're left with n plus 6. And then look what happens. N plus 6 up top and n plus 6 on bottom. If that binomial is identical, you can divide them and get 1. Okay, so n plus 6 over n plus 6 is 1. So right now the 3 is a denominator. And that means you have nothing left in your numerator right now. So because we divided those, that's 1. So you got to make sure you put a 1 up there. And that is what this simplifies to. Okay. Look at number 8. So it's tempting right now to go, oh, I can divide the 4s and I can divide the 4s. But because there's addition and subtraction happening between them, you cannot just start slashing those things away. So you have to try to factor first. Up top, you can factor out a 4. And if I factor out a 4, I'll be left with x minus 1, right? We're essentially dividing by 4, dividing by 4. On bottom, I can factor out a 4. And if I divide both of those by 4, my 4 comes out in front, and I'm left with x plus 1. These two, you cannot slash because they're different. One is x minus 1, one is x plus 1. But 4 divided by 4 is 1. So then your final answer is x minus 1 over x plus 1. Okay. Okay, now we get a little fancier again. Look at number 9 here. This hopefully looks a little bit familiar to you. That's called, remember, a difference of squares. So when both the numbers are perfect squares, you can actually take the square root of both of them. And then remember, difference of squares ended up being something times something with a plus in between and something times something with a minus in between. So that's what we're going to do with that top right now. We're going to square root y squared, which is going to leave us with y's in that first spot. And then we're going to square root 64, which is going to leave us with x there. Sorry, with 8 there. And so 1 is going to be plus and 1 is going to be minus. That's the factored form of that. Then your denominator is y plus 8. And now from here, you've factored, so now you can start getting rid of things that are identical as long as the whole binomial is the same. So y plus 8 over y plus 8 is 1, which means all you're left with is y minus 8, and that's your answer. Okay, look at 11. This gets a little fancy again. This is not a difference of squares. So think for a minute if you can remember how to factor something that is not a difference of squares. Remember this guy? I'm just going to give you the basic setup for this one over here first for star method. Remember, star method is A times C on top, B on bottom, A here, and then these are the two numbers you're trying to find. And you're asking, what can I multiply to get that top number that I can add to get the bottom number? Okay, so here we go. Your top number, your A times C is 1 times negative 18, so it's a negative 18 up there, a negative 7 down here, and then your A value was 1. So you are asking, what can I multiply to get negative 18 that I can add to get negative 7? I'll let you think about that for a second. Did you get a -9 and +2? So this becomes your two binomials. It's going to be k minus 9 and k plus 2 that replaces this, okay? Then your denominator is k minus 9, and now anything that's identical we can slash away. So k minus 9 over k minus 9 is 1, and that means all we're left with is k plus 2. You don't need the parentheses. If you leave the parentheses, it's not wrong, but you don't need them anymore because we're not doing anything else to it. All right, go to number 12. N plus 6 we can't do anything to, but that bottom polynomial, we can do star method. So -24 on top and 2 on bottom with 1s there. Okay, so we're saying what can you multiply to get a -24 that you can add to get 2? Side note, a lot of times this number up top is helpful for that. If you check like, oh, would a +6 work? 6 and -4 gets you there. So this is going to be n plus 6 on top, and then n plus 6 times n minus 4 on bottom. And then you can start slashing things away. So n plus 6 over n plus 6 is 1. Notice again, this is a denominator, so it's got to stay a denominator, m minus 4, which means we need to put a 1 up top for dividing our n plus 6's. So this is your simplified form. All right, let's see. Let's do this one. Okay, so number 18. You're looking for what can you factor here. I can take a number and a variable out of my numerator. So 6 and 8 are both divisible by 2. And then p to the third and p are both divisible by p. So if I factor out a 2p, then I am left with p squared minus 4 up there. Okay, then on bottom, you can factor out a 3p. And when you do that, if you divide by 3p, you are left with 3p squared minus 4. This one does not simplify as much as I was hoping it would. So from here, then we're going to see what we can do with that. Oh, here, it does. I missed my 3. Go back up to this. I was like, that's really weird. When you divide by 2, you get a 3p squared up here. So make sure you have a 3 there. Okay, now this is lovely. So once you get to this point of having things that are the same, these can go away. That's a 1. And then p over p is also 1. So all you're left with is 2 over 3. Okay. I think we'll leave it at that for now. Help each other out if you have questions on things. I will be here tomorrow to help you out as well. But that is it.